one of the hottest topics in the summer break, and by the latest move that's been done on the grid, it's more than obvious that his options have narrowed down to either driving on the back of the grid or joining a top team as a reserve driver. Now, after the Singapore GP, it seems like the latter option is something that Ricciardo is considering more thoroughly and seriously compared to the former one, at least according to his actions during this GP. So in this video, we're going to be talking about Ricciardo and the latest move that relates to him to Mercedes, so don't go anywhere.
Yeah! He won! But he did it! Yes! Yeah, boy!
Now, Ricciardo has agreed to buyout terms with McLaren at the end of the 2022 season, but it seems like he plans on doing things perfectly in the remainder of the season. Ricciardo finished P5 after exiting in Q1 on Sunday after what seemed to be not a very promising weekend ahead. Still, the Aussie managed to grab 10 points on Sunday as he has 29 overall points now in the Drivers' Championship. But what's even more important is that McLaren is now again in P4 in the Constructors' Championships, ahead of Alpine, as the French team had an awful weekend in Singapore. When it comes to Ricciardo, it was evident that he enjoyed the GP after scoring decent points for the team. The fact that Lando was P4 is also something the team can consider a major win, and Ricciardo did speak about his performance after the GP, saying, "We needed this, and as much as I'm looking forward to Japan, I want to enjoy this one. I feel with the result, I certainly feel good. It's been a long time. I think my last top 5 was probably a year ago in Saudi. So yeah, I hadn't had one this year, which is kind of sad, but we know the year it's been, and I feel like I was certainly due some good fortune." Nevertheless, Ricciardo is out of McLaren at the end of the 2022 season, and although he has proven to be a good help for the team's hopes for P4 in the Constructors' Championship, he'll be out at the end of the season. However, it's very uncertain as to where Ricciardo will end after 2022, and even Daniel himself has no idea and said all the options are on the table and available. When talking about his future, Ricciardo said, "Of course, plan A would be to end on the grid, but nothing's changed. Let's just say I don't want to just jump at the first seat available. I know the landscape probably changes as well at the end of next year with contracts and whatever, so I don't want to say remaining patient, but just remaining open. My management team is talking with, I want to say pretty much everyone, or they're having conversations, so we're just trying to put it all together and figure out what makes the most sense. I also don't want to just look at the next 12 months and not look at the next 24, said Ricciardo, who also spoke about the reserve role and having a seat towards the back of the grid. A reserve role is something that's realistic, yeah, that's the two, I would say, realistic options. It's not to be anywhere else. I love other disciplines of motorsport, but I don't see myself there. At least I feel as though I jump into something like that and then it closes the door in F1. Kind of feels like I checked out, and I haven't. So I'm solely focused on F1 and we'll see. Ricciardo was also asked about joining a team on the back of the grid and whether he thinks that would do him some good or not, and he answered, "I mean, it's possible. These are all things I'm weighing up. What fighting at the front does when you've had that taste as well. It's real, and that's ultimately where I want to be. So I guess I don't want to just go from race to race. I want to race with a true belief and understanding that I can be back on the podium ultimately. But next year, if I'm not to be racing in F1, then I feel like there could be a blessing in all that. I mean, it could make me freaking start foaming at the mouth, wanting to get back. So that's why I'm pumped to be on the grid again, but I'm also seeing positives if that's not the case. So that's why I'm at peace with whatever's going to happen in 23, because I feel like everything is going to happen for a reason, and all these things will make sense. Having a few weeks off was good to get some headspace, clarity, all those things," finished Ricciardo. There is one interesting situation that has transpired from the Singapore GP, and that's Ricciardo exiting the Mercedes garage. By this move, Ricciardo may have inadvertently given a major clue as to what he plans in his future, as it's been rumoured that he'll join a top team as a reserve driver more than him accepting the starting role in Haas or Williams. Certain reports say that Ricciardo is considered as Hamilton's replacement after 2023, but according to the Britain, he doesn't have any plan on leaving Mercedes beyond the 2023 season because that's when his contract ends. He said that he's planning on continuing the contract with Mercedes, and when talking about his future with the team, Hamilton said, For me, I feel healthier than I've ever felt. I'm feeling fit, I love what I'm doing, and I don't plan on stopping anytime soon. My goal is always to be with Mercedes. I signed with them in 1997. I love that we have the long partnership we have. I feel like we're embarking on a lot of really positive things, not only in the sport, but outside, and I think there's a lot to accomplish together. I want to be a part of that. So it's evident that Ricciardo's seat in Alpine will be a closed door for him because AlphaTauri signed Nick de Vries, and it's likely that Gasly will now go to the Enstone-based team. It's not like Ricciardo was heavily considered from Alpine in the first place, as the French team wants to have a full French lineup for the 2023 season. However, Gasly and Ocon aren't the best of friends since their karting days, but nothing much can be said about this relationship, and it seems like we'll see what will happen in 2023 when both of them fight for the same team. Now, according to a former F1 champion, Jacques Villeneuve, the move that Ricciardo plans to do will hurt his career, and it's something that is done by proven champions like Alonso or Schumacher. When talking about Ricciardo and the possibility of him sitting out the 2023 season, he said, "It could make him lazy. You can take a year off if you're an Alonso, a Schumacher, if you've been world champion and won a lot of races, if you know in the paddock that you'll always be at your best no matter what season. After 4 bad years, don't do that. You take what you can get. If you have an offer to drive in Formula 1, then you take every cockpit. In public, you will say you don't want to drive for one of the back teams, but if that's the only contract you can get, then you'll sign it." Ricciardo's other options remain Williams and Haas. According to Steiner, Ricciardo needs to make up his mind and choose whether he'll continue to race in F1 or not. When talking about the possibility of having the Aussie in Haas from 2023 and beyond, Steiner said, "In his situation, Daniel first has to decide for himself what he does. It makes little sense to persuade him to do something. He has to decide for himself. If he feels like it, he'll certainly call. Otherwise, he'll probably say, 'I'll do a sabbatical or something else.'" However, Steiner also spoke about Mick and Hülkenberg having the seat in 2023, saying that everybody has a chance for that seat. According to close sources to the team, Haas will evaluate Mick's performance until the Mexican GP and then decide whether he'll be a good choice for the team or not. So with that being said, what do you think about Ricciardo and the chance of him joining Mercedes as a reserve driver? Do you think that after the latest move of Ricciardo, there is a big chance of him joining the Brackley-based team as a reserve in 2023 and then suiting up with Norris for the starting lineup in 2024? Let us know in the comments below.